Welcome everybody back into NerdSesh. As always, I'm Carson Breber and alongside me is Logan Camden. And you already know the drill. We got two wild playoff basketball games to talk about tonight. Just absolute mayhem in the association tonight. And even though the first game had a historically anomalous comeback and just absolute insanity at the end, I still think the second game was the crazier outcome because with Steph Curry out for a vast majority of this game, Logan, he left early in the second quarter with a hamstring strain, did not return. The Golden State Warriors still did not just beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, they beat them convincingly. Shocking win. How did they get it done? And how much credit do you give to the Warriors for this compared to how much blame do you put on the Timberwolves?
It's definitely a give and take with both of those. I mean, there's no way Minnesota should have lost this game. You're telling me you're going to give me 3 quarters without Steph Curry? That's a game that you have to come away with. Like, it's inexcusable to me. But I think you do have to give credit to the Warriors, first and foremost, to this collective team defense, especially what we got in the first half. The Warriors allowed 31 points in the first half. It's Golden State's franchise record for points allowed in a first half in a playoff game. In the second quarter, they allow only 11 points, 4 field goals made total in that period. And in the first half overall, Minnesota goes 0 of 15 from deep. I mean, insane stuff. Anthony Edwards is scoreless until the third quarter in this game. And I mean, Minnesota's been really good. As critical as I have been of Minnesota's clutch offense, as Van Gundy pointed out on the broadcast, this has been the second best offense in basketball since Julius Randle's return in the beginning of March. Like, I think it's a really impressive feat that the Warriors were able to disrupt this Minnesota offense the way that they were able to, as well as dominate on the glass. And that's another area where I'm really disappointed with Minnesota in this one. They got crushed on the glass. Golden State was grabbing a ton of offensive rebounds. I think Jimmy comes away with like 7 in this one. Everyone was super active on that end. And just with the really large physical and athletic advantage that I think Minnesota possesses, that should not happen. So this is a really, really great win for Golden State to keep Minnesota at bay with Steph off the floor and hold on to this lead. But it's also a really ugly loss for this Minnesota offense and for Anthony Edwards, man. I definitely think it's a little bit of both, but hey, man, anytime the Dubs win a game without Steph Curry, it's really massive. And offensively, got to tip your cap to Draymond for getting it going early in this game, draining a bunch of threes. I said it, dude. If they're going to give you open ones, test it early. If the shots fall, and keep going back to it. And that was a big thing. And then I'm happy to announce I'm a proud owner of Buddy Hield stock once again. And call me crazy, Carson. I think it's still on the rise, man. I think I may have bought. You know, look, I fucked up. I fucked up big time with my stock portfolio. But hey, I think I can make some money on this investment. Buddy Hield, man, a hero. He's a superhero.
Yeah, it's an incredible buddy game. It's an incredible shooting first half from Draymond, just stepping in to above the break threes when Rudy is trying to totally ignore him so he can be parked in the paint. Like, those two being able to infuse that sort of 3-point shooting is honestly the difference in this game, because the Warriors inside the arc got nothing, man. I think that they shot like 37% inside the arc, but they shoot 43% from beyond the arc and they make 18 threes. Meanwhile, Minnesota got nothing going from beyond the arc in this entire game, which I do think is really, really damning for them. I thought that the Warriors did a really nice job defensively. I thought that they executed their game plan to perfection. They protected the hell out of the paint and they loaded up on Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle's drives. But it's inexcusable to me the extent to which that baffled Ant and Randle and the extent to which they played totally out of control and continued to try to force drive after drive into these packed paints and tried to finish in traffic. Like, I understand that the Timberwolves spot up shooting was really bad in this game. They should have taken 15 more threes than they did, though, because at some point you just got to believe in the law of averages. We're getting good shots from the perimeter out of the drive and kick game. They could have been, I should say, they never got the drive and kick game started. Ant and Randall were just very stubborn, and they were very, very bad in their offensive process. I thought that they both played horrible games, and I understand that the Ant box score is going to come away looking a little bit better because of what he did in that fourth quarter and what was a pretty fake comeback. And like when they did stay home on shooters, and if they didn't help aggressively, Anthony Edwards was going to walk his way to the rim. And like we saw more of that in the second half. But when they were helping aggressively, he was extremely inefficient. He obviously couldn't get the jumper going in this one, and he was a zero as a playmaker. And Julius Randle is just like throwing the ball around all over the floor. It was terrible. And like when I think about one of the concerns I had coming into this playoff run, it was the collective playmaking of those two. It was the question of can they consistently make the right decision when defenses are going to load up on their drives and dare them to consistently beat them as passers. And then I just thought they were both so good in that role against the Lakers that they had really assuaged a lot of those concerns. This was an F performance from both of them. And so you give credit to the Warriors, but this is the worst loss of the playoffs. Like, it should not be possible to lose a game to the Warriors without Steph Curry when you have as much talent as the Timberwolves do. And part of it you can just say is, okay, freak 3-point shooting differential, but the Timberwolves offensive process was really bad. Their stars were really bad. Defensively, I didn't think that they brought the necessary intensity until really the fourth quarter of this game. And then still, like, they're somehow letting Buddy Hield get open looks. Like, when Buddy Hield is coming around a handoff, man, I'm blitzing that shit. When Steph Curry isn't on the floor, Buddy Hield is the most dangerous weapon out there. Buddy Hield was a more dangerous weapon than Jimmy Butler, who still really never seized control of this game. Like, he played okay, I guess, and he made his impact on the offensive glass, like you mentioned, but he shoots 7 of 20 from the field. I thought that he was struggling to really get by people on drives. He was being deterred by Gobert. Like, he was really driving to try to just pass out and wasn't super successful getting downhill. So Buddy's the one dude who just has like that A+ trade out there offensively, and they let him beat them with it a bit too much in this game. So I thought it was really, really bad for Minnesota, especially on the offensive end. But defensively, 99 points is not a big number to let up. I still think it's too big a number to let up to the Warriors without Steph Curry.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's no way they should have lost this game. And I don't want to. I thought Anthony Edwards did a much better job in the second half getting going when they needed him and feeling it. But you got to get 4 quarters, man. It's like when we're going to put Ant into these conversations, like last episode, I was talking juggling him, Tatum, and Steph. It's like you just can't have performances like this, man. And this was a horrible half.
Absolutely horrible.
This just felt like a really big swing game for the Timberwolves, like a prove-it game almost. You know what I mean? No Steph Curry. Hey, pressure's off. First game of the series. We're at home. Let's seize control. Let's take advantage. And you let this golden opportunity that Golden State gives you just slip through your grasp off of, to me, Carson, it's damning that Randall and Edwards and this offense was this ugly and you get this bad of a shooting performance. To me, the uglier aspect really is the effort category, though. Like, 99 points isn't a lot to allow to the Warriors, and it's not a really bad overall defensive performance. But again, man, back to it, like the rebounding and closing out in the process, it's just a really, really ugly loss. And dude, like the Warriors role players, felt like didn't even play that well. Like Buddy Hield played great, right? But I mean, dude, you got Pat Spencer out there giving you real minutes in this game. You've got Kuminga doing nothing, man. Just out there getting up and down the floor. Like, this is... Carson, this is the worst loss for Minnesota since, what was it, that Bucks game? Was that who they were playing in that meltdown? I mean, this is the worst loss to me. And it's worse. It's worse when you have a guy like Steph Curry off the floor. Like, that was a monumental meltdown in the fourth quarter. This is just a game where they were never in control and Steph Curry was off the floor after the first quarter, man. Like, I think this is a worse loss than that. And I wouldn't say I'm, like, nervous or anything about them the rest of the way in this series, but this is a really discouraging game. And I think you just have to be a little bit more concerned about some of these Minnesota red flags that we may have glossed over.
All of their worst tendencies, all the things that made me more hesitant about them coming into the playoffs were at their absolute worst tonight. Do I think they can get these things figured out? I do. Like, I think that Ant is somebody who at times takes a little bit to adjust to seeing certain coverages. Like, if you think about game 2 against the Lakers was a really bad playmaking game from him. And then he bounced back and I thought was excellent as a playmaker in games 3 through 5. But he's got to be more willing to make those kick out passes. I thought that he struggled with double teams outright tonight as well. Just really, really bad. And then obviously, like, DiVincenzo can't make a shot. Conley can't make a shot. Really, nobody outside of Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels could. Shout out to those guys for still getting theirs. I thought Naz Reid was great in transition and he shot the ball well, had a few bad turnovers of his own, but Jaden McDaniels also just looks so comfortable with like those short range shots right now. So those were really the only two guys who I think are deserving of any praise in this game. The effort stuff that you hit on is also huge. Like, first of all, the Warriors role players are coming in and they have major skill limitations, but they are busting their asses out there. Pat Spencer playing his ass off. Gary Payton II.
It's endearing, man.
It is, dude. He played some good minutes tonight. He's getting to that little hook shot runner. He gets you 2 offensive rebounds. He gets you 2 steals. Like, he was making some plays happen out there. Gary Payton II gave you good minutes. When he knocks down 2 threes, that's always a good sign because that means you get to reap the benefits of the other good stuff that he does. He's on the offensive glass. He's making plays as a passer. Kevon Looney comes in and I thought really impacted this game in the fourth quarter when Gobert was kind of taking over with his size a bit and Looney really neutralized that. So he gives you some good minutes. And then obviously it's Buddy and Draymond who step up with just their offensive infusions. And then obviously Draymond is absolutely pivotal to this entire defensive game plan that I was praising the Warriors for. I thought that he was excellent as an interior defender and he's just been so great defensively in these playoffs. But for the Wolves to get outworked on the glass like this, man, for the Warriors to be +6 in terms of offensive rebounds, that just should never happen, especially when Looney doesn't even play that much. I mean, he plays 14 minutes and they're going double big, the Wolves are, for an extended stretch of this game. Like, that is completely inexcusable. And I think it just speaks to the fact that they came into this game like they were stuck in mud and they never really got out of it. And I can't excuse that in the second round of the playoffs. And like, this is a huge opportunity for you to steal a game when Steph Curry isn't on the floor. Now, I thought the Wolves were just going to be the better team coming into this series. So at home, maybe I shouldn't frame it as stealing, but realistically, with the way that they played tonight, like the only way they were going to win this game was with Steph being out, and they still couldn't do it, and they still couldn't come close.
What's the blame pie for you? Is the biggest pie, does that go to Ant?
I think it's a collective Ant and Randall. I thought Ant in the first half was absolutely horrific. And then I thought he was able to get some more clean drives in the second half. It's still a really bad game from him overall. And I hold him to a higher standard. So I would say probably 35% Ant, 35% Randall. And then the rest of it is just like the bad 3-point shooting and the insufficient effort from the whole team. But I really did think it started with their stars not knowing how to attack this defense because they could never get things going on the offensive end.
That's what I wanted to ask you next. Let's say hypothetically the Warriors come back with this same game plan for Minnesota offensively. What can Ant and Randall do differently to be better in game 2?
Drive and kick, man. Make the reads. The reads are there. Like, they are driving, barreling into packed paints, playing out of control, playing dumb basketball. So it's not an overly difficult adjustment to make. Like, they have to trust their shooters and they have to beat the Warriors as playmakers. They were just tested in this way against the Lakers and they did a pretty good job of it. So there's no reason that they should revert to being this bad as passers.
This is a step up in terms of defense.
It's absolutely a better defense, and we talked about this coming in. They are absolutely better equipped to execute a really good scheme. And by the way, part of the reason for that is, well, they have much better rim protection than LA did because they have a Draymond Green who's a special rim protector for his size, and they have a lot more speed to rotate out to shooters and run them off the line. And you did see them do that on a few occasions, but I thought it was mostly just Ant and Randall taking a really bad shot diet and not being nearly as active and selfless as playmakers as they needed to be. Steph Curry, Logan, we don't know what his status is, but it's not a good indicator that he's not even able to return to this game in the playoffs. Now we saw Jimmy come back with an accelerated timeline from the glute contusion. Obviously, they're going to have him out there as soon as they can, but a hamstring strain is not an easy thing to come back from. It's a dangerous thing to force because it can get worse, and you have the whole kinetic connections of the lower body that you don't really want to test. And like the effects can really be lingering. Like that really, really hinders your explosiveness when your hammy isn't right. I think it goes without saying the Warriors have no chance in this series without him. But what do you think they have to do to stay alive until he gets back out there?
They bought him a game. That's the way I look at it. Is it's like you came away with the dub in this one, and so it's like we push. We push the next game and hope we win. If we win, all right, we'll let Steph sit out a little more. Like, I think that it was really crucial that they won this one just to give him that cushion if he needs it instead of trying to rush back and potentially making things worse. I hate hamstring injuries because, like you were just mentioning, more importantly than anything else, it's like your legs just make everything else go in basketball. If you don't have your legs, you're not going to have anything, and it's really hard to overcome something like that. Jimmy has got to be better. That's key number one for me. If Steph's not going to be out there on the floor, Jimmy's got to get into takeover mode. He has got to be the guy creating shots and opportunities, and more importantly, creating advantages. Because I think if you play an extra period, the Wolves probably win this game. They were storming back in the fourth quarter. Ant finally looked like he was kicking into gear, and the Warriors' offense was ugly, putrid. I mean, nasty, grotesque stuff. Nobody wants to take a shot. Jimmy has to take it on him as his responsibility to get downhill and to create those advantages. And it's not going to be easy, but you need Jimmy really taking over. You need Buddy really active off-ball moving and spraying, knocking down shots. And I think you need all the role players just continuously moving, never letting this defense get comfortable, because it's not like the Warriors have a skill advantage, right? To me, it's going to have to be through that grit and grind and just intelligent basketball, B-pods and GP2 cutting off ball and making plays happen. Guys doing little stuff. It's going to be all hands on deck, man. The Warriors answered the call today with the defense, with the rebounding, with the energy, with the effort. But the two biggest keys to me are just how you generate that offense. And I think it starts with Jimmy and Buddy. And honestly, look, man, if you're going to need it and they're going to be giving Dre these shots, stay aggressive, Dre. Keep shooting, see what happens. Like, if you can get off to a hot start like this, that really helps a Warriors team that's stagnated. Dude, to start this game, I mean, they were over 50% from behind the arc after at least deep into the second quarter. I don't know if they ended up being over 50% from deep after the first half. Shooting's going to be crucial for Golden State as well, man. But I'm not as worried about the defense, man. I think the defense and the rebounding, I think they can consistently reach that level. It's really going to be about the offense.
I don't know if I agree with the rebounding.
Well, I don't know about
Timberwolves should take a much more decisive edge on the boards.
I don't know if it's going to be every game like this, but you know what I mean? They can bring the intensity there.
They're a really good defense, man. And that's got nothing to do with Steph Curry, essentially. Like, they were the number one defense in basketball after the Jimmy Butler trade. So that is very real. That is what gives them the floor to be competitive in a game like this. And then they just need to get pretty lucky with the shooting variance as they did in this one, where the Timberwolves can't make anything and the Warriors shoot it really, really well from beyond the arc. But I agree with you. Jimmy has to be able to grab hold of these games more than he did in this one, which I'm not super encouraged about, honestly. And I don't know how much of this to put on the glute contusion that he's playing through, but he's not really getting by people. Like, his offense right now is basically, I'm either going to find my way to the line, which he's excellent at, or it's a shot diet of pretty tough jumpers, which he's made a decent amount of, but like, he's not an efficient jump shooter overall. He really can't live off of that. So basically, the Warriors' whole offense is just going to be ball movement and trying to create open threes for good shooters, basically Buddy Hield. And it would be really big if Pods could get going as well, because he's the only other guy who's been shooting it at like 40% from deep for the better part of the year. But Buddy's on an absolute heater right now. I think they need to continue to play him like he's the closest thing to a Steph Curry replacement that they have. And he's very, very far from that, but just with his off-ball movement, with his ability to come around screens and handoffs and just pull and still be efficient on some more difficult threes off movement. That's kind of the best offense they're going to get. That and potentially Jimmy stepping up. That being said, the Warriors shouldn't be able to win another game in this series if the Wolves play up to their potential at all. Because I did think defensively, when their intensity picked up in that fourth quarter, you saw like they can just overwhelm the Warriors athletically, and they're going to contain the ball. Nobody's going to be able to beat them off the dribble. They can overwhelm shooters and run them off the line or just close out really hard. And like they're forcing shot clock violations. The Warriors offense really melted down for a stretch there, and that's not surprising. The Timberwolves should be able to keep them from scoring basically at all when Steph is out. If Steph does come back, does this game change your outlook on how good of a chance the Warriors have to win this series?
Well, I mean, just considering the fact that they stole this game without Steph, yeah, it changes it a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
I had Wolves in 7. I expected some of the stuff we saw in this game. Honestly, the only thing that went in the way of the Warriors' favor that I really expected was the off shooting night. Now, I couldn't have expected it to be this bad. Like, this was like as bad as it could get shooting wise from behind the arc, but I'm still going to go Wolves in 7. I expected the Dubs' experience and defense to get them a game or two. I definitely didn't expect to win a game script like this for Golden State, but
Mm-hmm.
I think this one goes the distance. I think we're in for a battle. And I'm impressed with the Dubs team, man. I'm really impressed with Steve Kerr and just the fight that this team put up, man. Like,
Absolutely.
just like the mental toughness that it takes. You know what I mean, man? Like, mentally, I don't know. It'd be really hard for me to even have that belief or that fire in my stomach after our best player leaves if I was a player on the Warriors. Like, they didn't stop.
No.
I'm still gonna stick with T Wolves in 7 though. But I think we're in for a really good series, man. Dude, Carson, I don't want to get ahead of myself, man. I think we could just be in for an all-time playoffs in general, man. Just with
We are.
how
I
everything's
agree.
shaping up to me. Like every series in totality, I think this has been an awesome playoffs thus far.
It's been incredible. It's been so much fun. And tonight was another example of that, really, with the first game. Second game is a bummer because Steph goes out, but the Warriors still do find a way to win it. I also lean on the Timberwolves still figuring a lot of this stuff out, being more consistently locked in defensively, being more physical, using their athletic advantages on that side of the ball. I do think they'll win the battle on the glass more convincingly. I think Ant and Randall will clean up their offensive process. And this was a team that was top 5 in three-pointers made and three-point percentage this regular season. They are on a 2-game historic slump. Like, they missed what was at the time the most three-pointers in a game in the playoffs in NBA history. They shot 15% in game 5 against the Lakers from deep. Now they shoot 16% in this one. So you can't just write that off. Like, you think that'll work itself out, but this is a next level sort of shooting slump that they're in over these last 2 games. And that does have to get a lot better because they need to be able to capitalize on those drive and kick opportunities. But I do think they'll be able to. I do think this game is an aberration for the Timberwolves, but it's just terrible. And I think that basically everybody who we've already lambasted fully deserves it. Jay Prum gives us a generous donation. Thank you. Says Warriors needed this one. Series over if we lost. I agree because I don't want to speculate, but I kind of can't imagine that Steph plays game 2. And to have a chance, you need to at least get one without Steph. I hope he makes a miraculous recovery, but I don't know. Hamstring strain, and they know within like 10 minutes of him being in the locker room that he's not coming back. That's not a good indicator.
I don't think it's worth it rushing him back though. I'd give him the next game off.
Yeah, I don't want to rush him back either. And like you said, they bought themselves a little time, but this is a 37-year-old guard. I'm not playing with his health as desperately as they need him. They got one, and that's big for keeping their chances alive. Supernova says 1 point in the first half isn't a top 5 player. Logan, your thoughts?
Keep the same energy whenever this happens to somebody else, man. When Luka shits his pants, or when Ant shits his pants, or when Tatum shits his pants. Now, the
I
one
think people
difference.
do keep the same energy. In fact, I think people have a lot more enthusiasm when Jason Tatum does it than they do for Anthony Edwards.
I think they do have a lot more enthusiasm. That's all I'd say is if we're gonna do this with Ant, and I think Ant earned it. Ant played a really horrible first half, and you gotta cash that check. But it doesn't change the fact of who I think that Ant is or what he's capable of, and I think he's gonna bounce back in a big way in the rest of the series. I don't think Golden State has a good answer for him, but no doubt, man. I mean, it's embarrassing, but I just think like when this happens to Steph, when this happens to Tatum, when this happens to Ant, you shouldn't let one game define a player for you or define, you know what I mean? I don't want to just absolve him and say that, like, he needs to be more consistent. Obviously, he needs to be better, but these type of games are susceptible to happen to any kind of player of any caliber. But it was ugly, and I think this is a limitation. That's why him and Tatum, that would be the edge that I would give Ant if you were going to put Ant over Tatum, is the fact that he's always a more reliable scorer. But you see it in this one, man. Like, you know, even as ineffective as Tatum is as a scorer or a playmaker, dude, I never feel like his impact was as negative as it was as Ant's in that first
Totally
half.
agreed. Yeah, I think that that's a great point to make. Even though Ant was good on the glass, like, what was so damning about this Ant game to me is that it's 1 point on 0 for 10 shooting, and he's making terrible decisions, and he's forcing it, and he's not amplifying any of his teammates. Like, that's the reason that I have been more hesitant to crown Ant compared to you, Logan. I mean, it's literally been the playmaking. And then he was playing at a top 5 level last series. I wouldn't call him a top 5 player yet, but he was playing at that level because he was bringing that consistent high level playmaking. And it's not always super crazy stuff, but like, he's consistently beating doubles. He's consistently making the right reads when they load up on him. And he was doing none of that in this game. So that's the biggest thing that he has to be more consistent with. And this was a really, really bad performance from him on that front. That's more concerning than any of the scoring stuff early on in this game, in my opinion, because this is just a game where it wasn't meant for him to be a scorer.
Or like,
the Warriors
even
weren't going to let him be a scorer. When they did, he scored easily, but the game plan is he's got to beat you as a passer, and he didn't do it.
Or even like Steph. It's like Steph's gravity is always going to be more of an impact than that, and you trust him way more as a decision maker with his veteran experience. So they're very marginal things, and I have yet to fully stamp Ant as that top 5 kind of player just yet, even as high as I am on him. I'm not going to lie, he's very close for me. Like I said, I'm Curry, Luka, Tatum, and Ant are all kind of up in the air for me, and I'm figuring out where they're going to land in that top 10. But this doesn't change overall who Ant is, man. And I hope he figures it out. I don't think this is a super tough matchup for him, but credit to the Warriors defense and what they did in that first half, man. That was super impressive.
He's got to get the pull-up 3 going too, because last couple games he's 1 of 16 from deep. That's outlier bad shooting. You think like Ant was an incredible 3-point shooter in the regular season, but with all this stuff, like, margins in the playoffs are small, sample size in the playoffs are small. You really can't afford to be off at anything in a vast majority of cases for 4 or 5 games, because that can be your season right there. So he's got to be way better than he was tonight. I do think that he'll bounce back and play better, though. We do have one more super chat, but it's about the Indiana Pacers, so we are going to save that, Cameron, but we see your super chat. We're going to take a quick break right now to get some quick words from DraftKings, and then we are going to talk about the Indiana Pacers and their historic win over the Cleveland Cavaliers. The NBA 82-game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for all the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through to the finals, now's the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory.
All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30 points, 40, or more? It's your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, lock in your bets, and let's make this playoff run unforgettable.
Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code NERDS. That's code NERDS for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Logan, Tyrese Haliburton has been able to hit them with the overrate that twice now in these playoffs, because after being voted the most overrated player in the NBA, he has hit 2 game winners. And not just that, he has been the engine of 2 historic comebacks for the Indiana Pacers. I saw Automatic NBA tweeted out an amazing stat today. All other teams in the last 20 years, when facing a 7+ point differential, I believe in the last minute in the playoffs, are a combined 1 in 384. The 2025 Indiana Pacers, Logan, are 2-0 in those spots. And in both of those games, it's been Tyrese Haliburton who has brought them back from the brink of death and has just made some incredible shots. And he did it again in this one. I just want to start with his clutch performance. How special was that from Hallie?
I mean, I don't get what else he has to do to prove himself anymore, man. Like, these are huge moments on the biggest stage possible. These are the biggest games of this young man's career, the biggest moments, and he's come through. I think he's just proving what we've already known about Hallie and how special he is. Like, it's just so funny to me. Like, how he's proving the one thing that people have been super critical about Hallie, like, wrong. Against Giannis, took him to the hole. He took Giannis straight to the cup. Game on the line, ice in his veins, sprayed a 3 over Ty Jerome. And I want to give Hallie credit here. One, I do have to lament the Cavs. Inexcusable loss. We'll talk more about their side in a minute. I didn't think that was a foul on, I think, was it on Donovan Mitchell? Was that the last foul, the shooting call?
On Hallie's drive?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that was the right call. I thought the refs blew that one. I thought that Mitchell stayed vertical for the most part and didn't initiate contact. So I didn't like the fact that they sent him to the line. That being said, they didn't get the rebound. And I thought that was really, really bad defense by Ty Jerome there on the last play. It's like, one, I don't want them to get a three-pointer off at all. I am running whoever I am guarding off the line. And I get, you don't want to foul them on the three-point attempt, right? So you might practice a little bit back because you don't want them to jump into you and give them 3 free ones at the line. But I'm damn sure not letting you take a shot to get ahead in the game. I'm going to make you take a 2 to tie the game up, right? To me, that was inexcusable. And that's the shot. Like, that to me is it's either a game plan thing or just a lack of focus. That's the shot that Haliburton wants. And I'm not letting him get to that look for game. So Hallie has answered the bell in all of these big moments and come through super clutch in these moments. But I thought the Cavs really bungled the ending of this game, and I thought there was no way they should have lost it. So, ironically, much like last game, I thought this was a missed opportunity from Cleveland down Mobley, Hunter, and Garland. But shout out Indiana, man. And I don't think no Haliburton hate will be tolerated any further. I think we were on the right side of history with that one, man. I'm laughing at everybody who was laughing at Hallie at the beginning of this year, 2 years ago, the people that were hating on Hallie, like,
have you seen what our good friend Drew from Pick a Side is doing?
No,
he's now trying to pass himself off as a Pacers fan. He's trying to act like he's one of the enlightened. Too late, brother. You said unforgivable things about our darling Midwestern
Rip
prince.
and Drew can stew in it, man. I love those guys, but they deserve to eat a little crow on this one.
I couldn't agree more. Hallie is clutch as hell, man. And you want to know the craziest number? He is now 10 of 11 on game-tying and go-ahead shots in the last 2 minutes this season. Like, you think back to that Bucks game, it's Tyrese Haliburton who scores 14 points for you in the last 6 minutes of that game between the final minute of regulation and then overtime. Twice within that game, he brings you back from the brink. And then this was not close to his best game. Like, his wrist was clearly bothering him, so he was much less involved in the offense than normal, and a vast majority of the possession-to-possession load was falling on Andrew Nembhard, who I thought was kind of struggling to bear that and made a lot of mistakes and had some difficulties dealing with the pressure, and he also made some good decisions, but the Pacers offense certainly was not in its best hands because those are Tyrese Haliburton's, and even though he was clearly uncomfortable with the wrist, like, the whole fourth quarter, I was thinking, you have to get more Hallie. The whole game, I was thinking, you have to get more Hallie because even though it was bothering him, his wrist, like, his shot still looked good. His finishing still looked good. He was still getting by people at will, and he's just the best decision maker and their best scoring guard. He's their best offensive player by a country mile, and when you need it most, he steps up and he shows you that all the same. Last minute and a half, He blows by Jared Allen, gets a bucket. He blows by Isaac Okoro, gets you a bucket. Then he blows by Ty Jerome, gets fouled, hits the first free throw, ends up grabbing his own miss off the second, and then steps back on Ty, hunting that step back three, games it. It's what you said, man. Like, the one thing that people want to act like Hallie can't do is beat you at a high level as a scorer, which he is absolutely more than capable of. This is a guy who for several months last year was averaging a super efficient 24 points per game while he was leading a historic offense, and consistently weaponizes his scoring threat to make everybody around him better. Like, watch game one of this series. How does Hallie put the Cavs away in that one? He's torching Jared Allen off switches over and over again because he's a lethal pull-up shooter and he's more difficult to stay in front of than a lot of people want you to believe. He's shifty. And then, yeah, if he gets by you and he draws help, he's going to make the right read as a passer because that is his most special trait.
My issue with them acting like he's not a really good scorer, though, is the fact that he has great touch from everywhere on the court. And that's what empowers him to be a great playmaker, is that threat. It's like he wouldn't be as great of a playmaker if he couldn't get buckets. That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing, man. And like, he is one of those guys who is special in his ability to organize an offense and understand where the ball needs to go, understand where the advantages are. He's great at all of that, like pure point guard stuff, but he is also a legitimate advantage creator. He is somebody who draws a ton of attention as a scoring threat. He's just more inclined to use that threat to make everybody around him better and get them great shots. But if you need a clutch bucket, he is the guy to give it to you. And he has shown that, man. I mean, that clutch number is insane, bro. 10 of 11 on those gotta have it shots in the last 2 minutes this year. And big picture, he's just balling out in these playoffs. So impactful offensively, always more so than the box score will tell you. When he's on the court in these playoffs, Indiana has a 124 offensive rating. When he's off, they have a 110 offensive rating. That's a 14-point swing on the offensive end. He's creating 1.1 points per possession out of pick and roll, and he's creating 1.26 points per possession on isolations. Those are both excellent numbers. That ISO number is crazy, and it's a combination of his scoring value and his elite playmaking value, always making the right decisions, best decision maker in basketball. And it's not a coincidence that this guy led the number one playoff offense last year, and now he's leading the number two playoff offense this year. Like, he's just a phenomenal basketball player. He's one of the most special offensive talents we have in the league, and he is somehow consistently wildly underrated, and he is demanding his respect right now with these sort of big moments and these big performances. And I'm just so happy to see it because the guy is incredible, and he's got his team in great position now to make their second consecutive Eastern Conference Finals run. That's not an easy thing to do.
Not at all, man. And I mean, he was the catalyst for turning this thing around. What also makes this super impressive to me is the fact that you didn't get big games from some of the supporting cast. Like, I didn't think Siakam or Turner played anywhere close to like their best games. Now,
Turner was pretty good. He was able to give him some big buckets attacking mismatches, but it was the second straight quiet Siakam game.
Yeah, but I mean, Nesmith comes through, and like the depth on this team is really great. But
yeah,
normally when other guys struggle around Hallie like this, they're not going to win. Like, you know, normally you're going to get a better game from Siakam, a better game from Nembhard. Those are prerequisites for winning. And it sucks, man. It just sucks for the Cavaliers to waste such a, like, superhuman Donovan Mitchell game. I mean, wow. Like, the burden on him in this game and, like, the stamina that it took to keep coming down every single possession in serving buckets to almost give you 50 points and 10 assists in this one. Dude, Mitchell got to the line 21 times and made 17 shots. Like, what a great Donovan Mitchell game. You couldn't have asked him to do anything more with all of these guys out. And I get this is so hard for Cleveland, but it's got to be deflating, man. You lose both of your games on your home floor now. You waste this kind of game. You have an utter collapse. And I thought you got really good production out of the collective in Cleveland. I thought Jared Allen had a really good game. I thought Max Strus had a phenomenal game. I thought you got really good minutes from starter Dean Wade, from Sam Merrill, from Javonte Green, from Craig Porter Jr. The hustle, energy, defense, effort. The one guy that I point the finger at for this game and for game one as well is Ty Jerome, man. I don't think Ty Jerome has lived up to what he's needed to do in these
No.
first two games at all. And I don't want to put all the game one on him. And I thought he had an all right game, but I thought he could have played better. This game, I'm very comfortable with laying at his feet, man. I thought he was the guy that needed to deliver more in these kind of circumstances, even down to the late moments. Like you're saying, getting blown by on Hallie on that last possession. The shot, getting shot over. And people are saying, well, what you can do? What can you do? Get up in Hallie's grill on that last shot. Make sure that you don't give him that big of a cushion on a step back three. It's like Haliburton is a great pull-up shooter, but at the end of the day, Haliburton has that set catapult kind of shot where if you're playing him close on ball pressure, he shouldn't be able to get off that clean of a look. And so down to the late game execution, down to the offensive game that you got start to finish from Ty Jerome, I thought he was a massive, massive letdown in this game and a huge component of why Cleveland lost this one. Like, not that you expect Ty Jerome to give you elite production every night, but in a game where you're missing Hunter, Mobley, and Garland, he is the guy that you expect to pick up the slack and to deliver, and he didn't.
Not only did he not deliver, man, he goes 1 of 14. It's one of the 10 worst shooting performances from the field we've seen in the playoffs since the merger with that many attempts. So it's a historically bad performance from Ty Jerome, and he was absolutely the worst player for them end to end in this game, the worst underperformer. I just think he looks really overwhelmed by the level of ball pressure that he's dealing with, by the level of physicality. He is just consistently putting up these really tough runners.
Can he stop flopping too, bro?
Well, he should, because he's not getting calls. He just runs into Miles Turner and collapses early in this game. There's been a lot of that in these two games where he's not even getting up a legitimate look at the rim, but part of it is his floater just being off, and he is amazing at that shot, normally one of the best in basketball, but I think there's a reason that he looks so uncomfortable, and even the shot that is usually his bread and butter, like he's consistently missing short, and he is forcing over some defenders who are really giving him trouble. So he is the culprit for the full 48, but when it comes to the last 48 seconds, I mean, just a complete meltdown by a number of guys for the Cavs. They were up 7. And I do just want to walk through how catastrophic this was, because I'm giving props to Hallie and he made some special plays, but he shouldn't have had the opportunity to do that if the Cavs didn't mess up so horrifically on their end. Up 7 with 48 seconds left. Can't keep Aaron Nesmith off the offensive glass when Siakam misses both free throws. He gets a putback dunk off the second miss. Then Mitchell commits an offensive foul against Aaron Nesmith when he's dealing with some ball pressure. Indy gets the ball back. Siakam scores. Then they're trying to inbound. They're up 3. Max Strus throws the ball away, trying to find Ty Jerome, who was jostling for position with Andrew Nembhard, and Strus just totally misread his leverage and threw the ball to a spot where it was incredibly easy for Nembhard to just sort of discard Jerome and then go get it and start a transition opportunity. And then you have the whole Hallie sequence that we already broke down. So it is an unimaginably bad choke in a game where for 47 minutes, the Cavs did everything they needed to win, and they could not afford to lose this game. Your season is on the line. You're down Evan Mobley. You're down Darius Garland. You're down DeAndre Hunter. And still you're up 7 in the final minute. You did your job until winning time and you lose. And now you're down 2-0 and we don't know when these guys are coming back. What we were talking about with the Warriors losing Steph, you have to at least buy yourself time. You have to at least buy yourself some margin when you're down key guys. And the Cavs were so close to doing that. And then they failed to put this game away. And I feel horrible for Donovan Mitchell because of that. And he absolutely was involved in some of these key sequences where the Cavs blew the game. He had the offensive foul against Aaron Nesmith. He let Nesmith get past him on that offensive rebound, that putback, which was a pretty clear lane violation on Nesmith, if we're being honest, but refs probably aren't going to call that in that spot. So he fouled Tyrese Haliburton. He was involved in some of these really bad moments for the Cavs in the last minute, but he also had 48 points and 9 assists and he was plus 13 in his minutes. Like the Cavs were minus 14 in the 12 minutes without him. That's really where they lost this game as much as the choke at the end. And it was just a superhuman Mitchell performance, man. I mean, they could not keep him away from the rim. He was getting to the bucket at will, getting to the line at will, and he created a ton of looks for his teammates. He created 72 points of offense in this game. I thought he was the best player on the floor by far. And yes, he took a lot of shots, but I thought that he struck a better balance than he did in game one of taking over, but also still getting his teammates involved. And also, he was just getting like the kind of shots that I want him taking over and over and over again. This wasn't a 13 3-point attempt Donovan Mitchell game because the 3-ball was off for him again. This was a downhill dominant sort of performance from him. And he was just so great for almost this entire game. And it's just really, really brutal that they let it slip away like that. Because like you said, man, I thought they did a lot of things right for the first 47 minutes of this game. I thought that Max Strus was really, really good. He is an offensive weapon. He is just such a great shooter, and he was active on the offensive glass. He's an underrated playmaker, so he gives them 23 big points, but then he has a terrible snafu in the last minute. And really, I mean, where they built this lead and where this game felt so dramatically different than game one to start was their defensive intensity in that first quarter was phenomenal. They were pressuring the ball like hell. They forced 9 turnovers. They were keeping Indiana out of transition where they're at their best. Like they were stifling them. I thought Isaac Okoro gave you some great defensive minutes, and maybe part of Hallie's passivity was also related to just like Okoro being attached to him like glue the whole game when he was on the floor. But the Cavs couldn't quite keep up that defensive level after the first quarter. And Indiana's just a special offense. And they got things going. They have 35 in the second quarter, 34 in the third quarter, 36 in the fourth quarter. They have so many contributors. Like I thought Miles Turner was pretty good. I thought Benedict Mathurin was excellent. He was cutting well. He hit a 3. Aaron Nesmith has just been like an A+ role player in these playoffs so far with the defensive effort that he's bringing you, taking on that Mitchell matchup. Not that he offered a ton of resistance in this one, but he made a couple big plays, and he's a really good defensive player. He's been great on the offensive glass, and he's been shooting the shit out of it. So those guys collectively did enough, and that's something that you can really consistently bank on with Indiana. I love Hallie. I will always hype him up as the engine of this team's special offense, and he often doesn't get enough credit, but they do have great depth, and they do have so many reliable contributors, and that came through for them in this one.
I do want to give the Cleveland collective credit for the defense they played in this game, though. I really liked the ball pressure and the intensity that we saw from Cleveland from the jump. I thought, for the most part, they did a really good job on Indiana. The only area that I was disappointed in was them conceding open threes. I thought that Nesmith did get a lot of good looks, especially from the corner, which they could do better at. But that's what sucks so bad about this one, man. I don't think Cleveland could have, outside of closing better in that final minute, I don't know how the first 3 quarters could have gone any better for them. Donovan Mitchell taking over, getting contributions from everybody. It's like, I really do think, man, if Ty Jerome just plays a little bit better, like they just come away with this game. This feels like, I mean,
well,
I
and
don't know,
also
man,
just
it kind of
like
feels like the end of the road for Cleveland. Like this is a really hard hole to dig yourself out of, man. You got to win these next 2 games. You got to win 2 on the road. You got to steal them back in Indiana. Probably down, 2 of your 5 best players.
So, do you think that their season is over?
I mean, if I was a gambling man, which I'm not, Pacers in 7. Pacers
Okay,
in 6.
so let me ask you: can they still win this series without Mobley, Garland, and Hunter?
You can cut it in Mobley.
You think they can't win this series just without Mobley? I think Garland is really important offensively because Ty has struggled so much. Also, just like their overall 3-point shooting has not been what we're used to from the Cavs. This team was top 2 in threes made, top 2 in 3-point percentage this year, and they've shot like 26% from deep collectively over these 2 games. So that's been really bad. Garland is just such a pick and roll master and such a great shooter and such a great playmaker. he makes a huge difference. Mobley also makes a big difference. I was really impressed with their defensive start to this game without him. I thought that they would struggle more on that side of the ball to really offer any resistance to Indiana. But yeah, I mean, if they don't have those guys, they cannot win this series. The Cavs' depth is really good, and props to Max Strus and props to Sam Merrill for giving some good minutes in this one, and props to Dean Wade for giving some good defensive and rebounding minutes. And their offensive depth is phenomenal, but their depth isn't good enough to overcome missing those guys. So let me ask the second part of this question. Do the Cavs still have a legitimate chance to win this series if they get those guys back shortly?
For sure. I don't think you can spare a game, though. I think they got to be back next game, or at least one of them. You need, and Hunter's really impactful, don't get me wrong, but you need one of Garland or Mobley back for next game. If Garland and Mobley both are out next game, I would put the nail in the coffin. I think the Cavs are cooked. And like I said, I think even if they do come back, this is a really difficult hole to dig yourself out of, especially when you're dealing with a team as good as the Pacers, because that's the other component of this. I thought this was going to be a struggle of a series, even with the fully healthy Cavs, because I have that much respect for the Pacers. Now that they have gifted them 2 games in this cushion, I just think it's too much to overcome, man. I think that Indiana's going to come away with this one.
If they get Mobley and Garland back for game 3, I think they can win this series because I do think that they're the better team at full strength. But winning 4 of 5 versus Indiana with how dynamic that Pacers offense is going to be really hard. And if they do get them back, it's probably going to be rushed. Like, this toe sprain is clearly bothering Garland. He reportedly doesn't feel comfortable exploding, and like he's already missed a good bit of time with it. I think that the timeline for Mobley's injury is normally a week to 2 weeks. I think it's similar for DeAndre Hunter. So like, all of these guys would be getting rushed back because it's the playoffs and that's what you do, but you're not necessarily getting the best versions of them, even if you do get them back out there. So I think the most realistic outcome at this point is just that the Pacers do win this series. I don't think it's a lock. If the Cavs get those guys back, then I think that they do still have a real chance, but it's going to be really difficult for them to pull off. I mean, they really have to be exceptional because the margin at this point is next to 0. I mean, they've really lost their margin by losing this game, which is why it's just so brutal. And like, I am really happy for Hallie and I'm really happy for the Pacers because they're such a good team and they deserve to have a deep playoff run with the level they're playing at. But boy, am I bummed for the Cavs, because if this is how their season ends, you lose your 2nd, 3rd, and 5th best players. That's just absolutely brutal. And like, if people try to use this to discredit them, I don't know what to say to you, man. If you're going to try to get off your 2015 Hawks takes when the Cavs are without two,
It's just low hanging fruit, man. And
I mean, stupid and it's wrong. And like, legitimately, I don't know how you can even take yourself
I mean, the
seriously.
Cavs are just so much better than that team,
Took
man.
away Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and Andre Iguodala from the peak Warriors, I don't think they'd be as good. That doesn't even work because, yeah, I'm saying before Kevin Durant. All right, we're taking all those guys away. Like, if you take away 3 of the top 5 players on a team, yeah, it's going to make a really big difference no matter how good their depth is. And the Cavs really deserved a chance at a title healthy this year. I did think that Boston and OKC were the top 2 favorites, but the Cavs were that clear 3rd favorite for me at full strength. And it would be a real bummer to see them deprived of that opportunity. And I do worry that might be on its way to happening. We do have a super chat and a question from Cameron, who says, it would still be wild, but considering they've been the best team in the playoffs so far, is there a world where Indiana wins it all? If so, what percentage?
1%. I don't mean to be like a downer, but like, for them, and Indiana's got such a unique style of winning basketball games. I want to give props to friend of the show, Jason, host of Hoops Tonight. I mean, we were doing our preview series, dude. He earmarked 2 teams that could potentially go on a deep playoff run as like dark horse championship contenders. And they were 2 that I know we were pretty high on, but he actually made the case, and that was Indiana and that was Minnesota. It was those real dark horse contenders. And so Indiana has such a strong identity in such an advantage in one area, and it's that elite offense and the fact that they can manufacture it at will. I don't think there's anything you need to look further past than the clutch game against Milwaukee, the fact that they erased that deficit so quickly, and the fact that they erased this deficit so quickly. Indiana can just put points up in bunches. And so that gives them something special that they can hang their hat on that could lean to them making a really deep run. The reason I only say 1%, Boston to me also has that advantage because they have an elite offense, but they're also an elite defense. There's a huge gap there. So I think Tatum would have to be off and KP would have to be really bad. But I'd give them a chance. I mean, that series last year was really close. I'd give them a little slim chance against Boston. The real issue for me is whoever we get out of the West. If it was OKC, if it was Denver, that's the one that I have a really hard time seeing them overcome. But I don't know, man. Indiana's going to be here every single year as long as they have Hallie in this core. Like, Indiana's a really good team. They're just not that defense, man. That defense is just what keeps them from being a real title contender. But I think they're going to get to the ECF back-to-back years, which is one hell of an accomplishment for them.
So if they do knock out the Cavs, outside of Boston and OKC, is there anybody else who you view as like being
Denver.
a level above
Indiana? I like Denver more than them for sure. I just think Jokic would be I think Jokic would terrorize them in that series. So honestly, I don't know if a tier above is the way to put it, but I would have Denver and Golden State, I think, above Indiana still.
Golden State?
And Minnesota probably. Indiana's still probably really low on my playoff totem pole, but they're a great team.
Wow. Maybe I'm higher on them than you are. Like, I think that they are more of a legitimate threat than the Warriors. I think that their offense
even
is
with their
in a totally different
concerns,
tier.
Really?
I just think their defense has improved a lot. And that's the biggest reason that I wish that I had been even more of an advocate for the Pacers coming into the playoffs. Like, I did talk about the really good basketball they've been playing for 3/4 of the year, but like, their defensive improvement is very real, going from what they were last year, 24th in defensive rating, to whatever they were this year, 14th. Like, their ball pressure is legitimate. Their point of attack defense is legitimate. Their rim protection is solid. They're not a very good defense. They have their limitations in terms of real high-end, like big front court defensive players. Outside of Jarris Walker, who's pretty good, but he's not going to play so much for you because of his offense. They're not a good rebounding team usually, but they're a respectable defense. I think that Hallie's improved there. And then offensively, they're as reliable as it gets. Their pace translates, and they're a great half-court offense. But this is back-to-back years where we're talking about a top 2 playoff offense, and they churn it out regardless of opponents. So I do think that like Boston and OKC are still at a different level as being two-way forces who are elite on both ends. But I think that Indiana has an offense that can go toe-to-toe with anybody. And their defense isn't as good as the Cavs, but I think that they have fewer outright weak points. Like, when you think about the Boston matchup, it's so easy for them to target Darius Garland every time down the floor. Indiana doesn't have a guy like that. Everybody is competitive defensively at the very least. So after those top 2, I wouldn't put them comfortably below anybody else. I would have them with Denver and Minnesota. Not comfortably below them. Like, just in terms of their ability to beat all these teams in a vacuum.
Yeah.
I'd have them in the same tier, and I would have them above the Warriors, and we'll see what happens with the Cavs. I think that the Knicks are the least scary of all the remaining playoff teams, but I do think the healthy Cavs are really, really great, and I do think that they're a top 2 team in the East, and I'm very bummed for them, and I feel so bad for Cavs fans. Like, if this is how your season goes out, I'm so sorry, because this is one of their best seasons ever. They won 64 games. They had a top 20 net rating in NBA history. They had 3 all-NBA caliber players, and to go down 2 of them, you really can't emphasize enough how much of a bummer that is. On that depressing note, I'm going to pick up morale by shouting out Tyrese Haliburton again, and I'm working on a Hallie Glaze YouTube video, so hopefully that will be up tomorrow. Any last thoughts before we get out of here, Logan?
Fourth quarter legend, Naz Reid.
Naz Reid, he did his part today. The Minnesota Timberwolves in totality did not. I had some notes about Andrew Nembhard's performance that we didn't get to. How am I going to talk about him being rattled by the ball pressure, making some horrible passes, missing Miles Turner very open off a couple rolls, but also making a few nice reads in the last couple minutes? I guess I'm just going to talk about it now. Those are basically my thoughts on Andrew Nembhard's performance. I thought that he gets a C- for this game. Good player, asked to take on a big role in this game offensively that maybe he wasn't fully equipped for, but he was good defensively, solid on the glass. So that's the Pacers experience, man. You got a whole lot of good basketball players playing some good basketball out there. We will be back tomorrow night reacting to the 2 games on that slate. I really cannot wait for game 2 of Thunder Nuggets. That is as good as it gets. And if you want to join us for that journey, well, you know where to find us. Right here on our YouTube channel, you can catch all of our post-game live streams. You can watch those in the moment, or you can watch them back after the fact. And you can listen to all of our full episodes across all audio platforms. You can also catch all of our YouTube video essays and breakdowns. As I mentioned, hopefully we'll have one on Hallie up either tomorrow or the next day. So all of that stuff is on our channel. And you can follow us across social if you want. TikTok and Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh. You know what was a crazy experience I had today, Logan?
What's up?
My YouTube algorithm recommended to me a trivia time episode of ours from our old NerdSesh channel. And it was 5 years old, and I watched some of it. And I thought, wow, what a journey.
Said, man, these guys know ball.
No, honestly, I said, damn, we know a lot more ball now.
True story.
Like, I asked you a question about the leading tackler in the 2000s, and you were like, Zach Thomas, Ray Lewis, and I was like, good guesses. But then I was thinking to myself, I bet it's London Fletcher if it wasn't either of those two.
That's literally who I thought. Is it right?
Well, it's correct. You 5 years ago didn't think of it so fast, though, so you've improved.
I wasn't locked in.
Dude, you asked me a question about scoring champs to miss the playoffs, and I got the first few pretty quickly, but then I wasn't mustering up Pistol Pete, and I was just like, you idiot, you buffoon. How do you not know this?
Bro, it's Men's Mental Health Month, bro.
It's Men's Mental Health Month, so I got to go easy on myself. And
we're promoting positive self-talk this month, bro.
We are, man. Listen, I'm not being negative. I'm actually highlighting growth. I'm highlighting growth among young men in their 20s who could have gone and become radical alt-right incel freaks and instead just got even deeper into podcasting and sports trivia. You know, maybe it's not the ideal path that our parents would have envisioned, but it's good enough. It's better than some of the alternatives. I guess that's my takeaway.
100p.
Congratulations on 5 years of NerdSesh. Almost 6 years, actually. That's what they don't want you to know. Shout out to you guys for enduring not all of it with us. If you have, you're probably one of our parents. But thank you for however much of the journey you have enjoyed with us. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We'll be back tomorrow, if you can believe it or not, man.
It's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. Every night we're here. I was thinking as I was watching that episode, it looks like we're both trapped in very dark and dank basements, which we still are, actually. We both are still contained in our cages, but the lighting is a lot better.
I was going to say, the ring light makes a world of difference.
Progress. With that, as always, I've been Carson Brabber.
I've been Logan Camden.
And this was NerdSesh.